Girls, what inappropriate questions about guys have you always wanted answered? It doesn't necessarily feel different on my, but different positions change how much control either of us has or how much of our bodies are touching. For example, I can't stand style because I don't get the same sense of physical closeness, and I like having some part of the girl touching my chest. I'd ask if you were my boyfriend, but with that username, some explaining would need to happen. I like looking at people standing in front of their grills and campfires, sweetie. It feels a bit different, but for me the main factor with different positions is the effort. Take 2 to 3 times as much energy as which can mean the difference between coming together or her finishing then taking care of me while I lie there panting and covered in sweat. Both are hot, but for the average session I'd rather not completely tire myself out. Is there such a thing as good? Like, do different feel drastically different, and what feels different about them? Is this a thing that's always caused by one specific feature, e.g. tightness/wetness, or is it similarly to more about how you particularly fit with someone else that makes them feel better? I've not yet found one that felt drastically different, honestly. However, similar to how I imagine semen works, ladies can taste drastically different. Would you be willing to share your tasting notes? All the many flavors you have tried? I don't really have a South Mouth taste book full of notes on it, but I guess I do have a few standout cases. I think my first standout experience that I recall not believing myself until further studies was when a girl I dated in high school actually tasted a little bit like jalapenos, not spicy but the flavor without the spice. It was by far the weirdest experience I've had in that regard. Aside from when I was in college and had my first realization that fish tacos do in fact taste like some Muffle Puff members, I have just mostly found other ladies to be either really good tasting or a bit sour. I think cleanliness is pretty key here, but I also know each lady has her own small hint of special snowflake taste. TLDR, most ladies have their own small hint of flavor that I think stems from a mix of diet/cleanliness. Oh, and somehow a girl once tasted like non-spicy jalapenos. Yes. I'm going to wager the ones that say otherwise have limited experience. Firstly, tightness and wetness definitely play a part. But there's also depth. Depth can vary quite a lot, and a good match between his length and her depth makes a big difference. Appearance also has a big impact, not on physical sensation but on the overall experience. We are very visual, after all. So, I don't think there's such a thing as an objectively good/bad, except perhaps a perpetually dry one, but subjectively they're those which I will enjoy more than others, even controlling for differences in their owners. Well, do you actually get any form of pleasure from, or do you do it just cause it's amusing and funny? As a girl with big huggers, I got asked to do that a few times and always wondered. Honestly, it's not that great. It feels good, but only as good as an average quality. It's really the visuals that make it appealing. Every guy I know, and myself, wanted to try it and went, it was worth trying, but nothing special afterwards. I'm a girl and I feel the same, it did nothing for me, and according to the guy it didn't feel as good as a. If a girl wears a push-up bra, and then you get her home and she takes it off, are you disappointed? Or could you tell all along that she was making the most of her assets, or do you just not care either way? Because I can honestly say that taking a woman's bra off has never been accompanied by a sense of disappointment. Are good. My wife was so self-conscious about pregnancy changes, increases, shrinkages, etc. between our 2 kids, and I'm just still, after 10 years of marriage, like, yay. This is my husband. He doesn't give a flying crap about the size of my, he's just excited when he gets to play with them. Seriously, good husbands are the secret to self-confidence sometimes, I think. So do vibrations feel as good on the as it does for us on the? I can never get a straight answer out of the hubby because we both start laughing hysterically at the sight a rattlesnake's tail without the sound. Vibrations from a toy straight on my tip is okay, but I'll never from it. It can be good to get started with, but it gets old pretty quick. However, sometimes my wife will use her on her while I put just the tip inside her wet labia/vulva. I can feel the vibrations all the way around my tip and a little bit down the shaft. That is literally amazing. If I'm not careful, I will that way. Then when I can feel her tighten up around my. Then she lets me push the rest of the way in. I have to go now. WTF do your balls do when you run? Is it uncomfortable or do you even notice? The nutsack is a strange thing. It almost has a mind of its own. When you exercise, it mostly tucks itself up all nice and snug, holding everything in a nice little package. When you rest, it often relaxes too, just spreads out and lets everything swing freely. Seriously, next time you get the opportunity, just sit and watch a nutsack for a while. That little dude will roam around all on its own, it rarely stays stationary. As for running etc., it doesn't hurt or anything, but it really when your balls swing underneath you as you sit down and you crush them into paste. Is it disappointing for a girl not to swallow during a BJ? I happily give my BF as many BJs as he wants and then some. But I can't stand the taste of and he refuses to eat pineapples or take those capsules, so I usually edge him then ride him to finish him off. He seems happy, but would it be a problem for other guys? Not disappointing at all. If she doesn't want to do it, I'd rather she didn't. That's why towels were invented. He refuses to eat pineapples or take those capsules. I don't know whether it's good or bad that I have no idea what you're talking about. LOL. Apparently eating tons of pineapples or taking the capsule form of the enzyme that makes it sweet can make you have pleasant tasting. When it comes to good, do guys prefer the? Is that like a requirement for a good BJ? Or is it like, more of the teasing, friction and? Is a personal thing. I really don't enjoy it unless I'm in a very dominant mood. It definitely isn't a requirement for a good. A good includes actual, instead of just friction and. My ex-girlfriend actually on my instead of just putting her mouth around it and moving her head up and down. I experienced a whole new world that day. I'm currently dating a girl who doesn't understand this. She is very self-conscious and I fear explaining the difference would result in a total meltdown. We may have some communication issues. Guys who shave your junk, don't you get nervous about that? I hate giving the lady downstairs a haircut for fear of getting nicked. I can't imagine how anxious I'd be putting a blade near my balls. You get used to it. Just pull the skin taut and it's no different from shaving your face. If anything, I'd say it easier due to being able to manipulate the contours vs the contours of your face. Takes forever. Not super inappropriate, but do you guys really always think about? A lot of intelligent women I know seem to believe that, and even believe that every guy who approaches them wants. I don't really know if I believe that, but I personally think about a lot, too, lol. Also, do you really categorize a girl early on? As in, she's either girlfriend, hookup, or wife status? Or is that just a bunch of bullshit? Is definitely not always on my mind. Top 5 maybe, but there are more pressing matters, mostly. And no, I don't. Most of the time when I meet a woman I'm not even thinking about them in a romantic way. More of a, this is a person I can chat with, thing. Gotta know them and if they're even interested in me. It's definitely top 5 for sure. Usually it's, what can I do to not think about what needs to be done now? What needs to be done now? What should I have for dinner / lunch / snack? I wonder who would win random noun A or random noun B. Person A is really attractive, starts thinking about 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, 3 + 3 = 6, 6 + 6 = 12, 124 + 124 + = 248. I would think unless in the act, it's not in your active thought process, and if you're busy it's one of the few things you start thinking about when you let your mind wander. For me it's not the first thing that pops into my head, but give me 30 minutes of not doing anything and left in my own headspace it usually goes to that. Do you judge girls based off their size? Example, your ex is super skinny and the new girl isn't as small, do you compare them to each other? It's literally impossible to not notice differences. Especially if you got pretty used to it. Imagine you had an ex with a bigger, then the new guy has a smaller and you can't help but notice the difference. That type of deal. Yes, we notice, but not in a bad way. Our ex is skinnier than you? Cool, she's also our ex. You're a little bigger than they were? Cool, you're also the person I'm choosing to date, so I obviously don't care.